This is the market. I think it's a beautiful building, and I love the little, they say they sold seafoods and meats, they don't talk about anything else.
It's like the French market.
It looks like the French market. Look at the blow up of the little stools. There's a sign here because that's how they got the news out, and it says Titanic, because the Titanic had just sunk. Wow. Trinity Episcopal Church, Lutheran Church, didn't look like that back in the day. It was a very plain little wooden church with no front to it, no steeple. They were raising funds to fix up the church. And soon after this, they received donations from Catholics and Jews, from Mr. and Mrs. Charles Morgan from New York, Morgan City. And they asked their friend Mrs. John Jacob Astor to donate. And she did. She was 19 and she married John Jacob Astor, who was 40. He was the richest man in the world. They took a 2-year honeymoon to Europe. She found out, I believe in Egypt, that she was pregnant. They went back to Paris and bought tickets on the hometown. So she, her nurse and her maid got on a lifeboat. He asked if he could go with her because she was in a delicate condition. They said no. He, his valet, and his dog Kitty, all of them at the ship. And she donated to our local church. Ceiling of elevators.
I remember these on the telephone.
That's Miss Edie Hover's grandmother that I was able to give her a death notice. We used to put them on the telephone poles. I have the 1934 newspaper. I mean, not newspaper, telephone book, in which the telephone numbers for Citizens National Bank 1.
The Young Fund.
Yes.
How much they've done.
Okay, they did donate to this, so they had made it happen, and
They still donate.
Okay, another story is that at L&H, where my family has been for 100 years, my brother was there a few years ago in the middle of the pandemic, and he's in the men's room in the back of L&H, looks up in the ceiling, and there are 24 boxes of paperwork up in there from the 40s and 50s. He's Greg, I'm going to throw away. Which one do? Look through every one of them. He brought them home 2 by 2, roach droppings, dust, and found things that I just find interesting. So I plugged them up here. I mean, these are
The bill.
World War II advertisements that are, a little racy. This one that says help the war outfit use 1 staple instead of 2. And right here, a long today. And she said, oh, that's my daddy's boat.
That's my dad's boat.
What do you remember about it?
Yeah, everything. Dad and Clarence, his twin brother, they had a little tiny small boat called the Lathrop, and they were shrimping, and they ran into a buoy, and it sunk with them out there. They were in the water for hours and hours. I don't know how long. We didn't know if they were dead or alive. So after that happened, they went to Galliano, and they bought the Michael Jerome, and they never renamed it because back then it was expensive to rename the boat. And so during the blessing of the fleet some years, we would go on the boat and they would decorate, but sometimes they weren't in because that was the height of shrimping season. They could not afford it. And then my cousin Charlotte always had the best ideas, and we would go, the whole family, my brothers, my sister, Charlotte, her mom and dad, her brother, all of us would go and decorate for the blessing of the street, the fleet in the years,
And that's where the post office was. Also in that building at one time was the Red Star store. And there were 2 gentlemen who managed it. One was a Guggenheim and one was Henry Bendel. Henry Bendel ended up going to New York, and he became a very famous hat maker. He liked the trappings of the Catholic Church, and so he used to help our priests decorate the altars for Christmas and for all the holidays. holidays. When he went up there, he opened Bendel's and he became Henri. And he introduced Coco Chanel and Ralph Lauren to the United States. Everybody had to have a brown and white Bendel's bag. Cole Porter, some of us have heard of him, famous. He wrote a song called You're the Top. In the song, there's a line that says, you're a Bendel bonnet.
It commences. I think I'll have you standing center stage.
You'll be seated. No, I think you'll be standing.
On second thought, I think I'll have you seated while I sing the verse. At words poetic, I'm so pathetic that I always have found it best, instead of getting them off my chest, to let them rest, oh babe, unexpressed. I hate parading my serenading, as I'll probably skip a bar. But if this ditty is not so pretty, at least it'll tell you how great you are. You're the top, you're the Colosseum, you're the top, you're the Louvre Museum. You're a melody from a symphony by Strauss. You're a Bendel bonnet, a Shakespeare sonnet. You're Mickey Mouse.
So he's actually in that song. But he would send hats for years back to the priests in Morgan City to raffle off for the Catholic Church.